So here I am again, except this is now day 0 of day 30. Yesterday I didn't get out here. I didn't make it a priority to get a chance to get out here, come to our spot, me and Finn, as you can see him right here, take a little hike, a little stroll, and record this video. Because I made it a priority to put my relationship with my baby mama first. The reason I did that is because she's been working a lot. We really have had time to just connect, really just talk to each other. I guess the biggest thing. And by the time that I saw the time and I realized it was already dark, I didn't want to do some half-assed video in our living room, bad lighting, bad background. If I'm gonna do a video the way I am, I want to do it some at least a little bit better. Some of it looks pretty. You can see still nature out here. It's about 3 o'clock, 3:43, and the sun's almost gone. So I want to catch some of the sunlight, which is why I decided not to do it yesterday. It was too dark. And again, I want to do something of quality. I don't want to do some half-assed video middle of the night just because I have to get it done. If I'm gonna do something, I'd rather do it. Take another day. Try again next time to get it done. Yesterday was good. Me and my girl watched Minority Report, which is a really bizarre movie, but it's based on a short story by Phillip who I was fascinated with when I was studying up in Berkeley, just because this man was so prolific in the science fiction stories that he was writing, the themes that he touched upon: free will, determination, alternate reality, different states of consciousness. Like, this is all stuff that I'm incredibly fascinated with and incredibly fascinated by. And it's actually one of the things that made me want to study cognitive science when I was up in Berkeley. And another thing too, especially with this Tom, I mean, it has Tom Cruise, so you know it's going to be a pretty action-packed movie. I thought it was like an hour way too long, just because some of the dialogue was kind of really not going anywhere. It was trying too hard to be philosophical, to be something deep, to be something that makes the audience question that if you know a certain event is going to happen and you're supposed to be predestined, for example, in the Minority Report film, you're supposed to kill somebody. Does knowing this event change the probabilities of what you're about to do? Do you still have choice? And that's like one of the things, it's kind of one of the things that they touched upon. But again, the dialogue was kind of made me laugh. I'm sure it was an unintentional comedy, but it's still a decent film. You can definitely see the inspiration in it. You can definitely see where they took off some of the just ripped off Agent Smith from The Matrix for the whoever Colin Farrell's character was, and his little guys. They all had that Agent Smith kind of demeanor, just cold, trying to be very logical about everything. And then you can definitely see the Ghost in the Shell. I don't know if you're all familiar with the Ghost in the Shell anime. Came out in 1990s, a while back. Again, also inspired The Matrix. And if you haven't seen it, definitely recommend it, because they do a really good job bringing up these kinds of topics about the nature of free will, making decisions, different kinds of realities, what's true, what isn't. With these characters in the Minority Report film, they're called, I think they're called precogs, and they're the ones who can see into the future. That's how they decide whether they're going to arrest somebody for a crime they didn't commit, because they see the murder happen. So these things see the future. And then Tom Cruise's character goes out and tries to arrest these people, but they're styled in the way that they're presented in the film. You can see, if you've seen Ghost in the Shell, you're like, oh, that's where they got that from. That's where they got the inspiration for the design from, I assume. Again, but there's one thing that I've learned in creative works, is that nothing's ever original. Everything's ripped off, copied. And I know that kind of sounds bad, but I mean, if you look at nature, the leaves, the way the trees grow, the branches, right? They're kind of similar to the veins in our hands, the way rivers carved into canyons. There's a very fractal-like nature to reality. If you look at the structures of everything around you, it's not a bad thing. It's you use what works. And I think in art, it's kind of like the same thing, is that when someone's trying to create something, you see something, you're inspired by it, so you take those little bits and pieces and you try to make something of it your own. You try to put your own little stamp into something that you're creating. For me, poetry's kind of like that. I used to think, again, this is when I was back up in Berkeley, I was very inspired by Philip K. Dick and his short stories, especially this guy's life story. This guy was a fucking intense, intelligent, somewhat paranoid. I think he suffered from a lot of mental health issues, which to me at the time, you know, I was going through suicidal thoughts, depressed. I couldn't find joy in anything. But in his stories, his story in particular, really resonated with me and really helped me start to write short stories. It helped me start to become a little bit more creative. But one of the things that if anyone out there, they're trying to create something, just remember it's okay to copy and imitate what you see out there. That's how everyone starts. There's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes people like to think that creativity happens in a vacuum. There's some like lonely creative genius out there in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of woods, writing the world's greatest novel, but that's rare. Most of the time, creativity happens when there's a combination of factors. There's a combination of elements that are going on, thoughts, nature, music, food, like whatever it is you're trying to create. There's a combination of all these elements that come together and create something that seems novel, seems interesting. Usually it is, but usually it's because that creator was inspired by something that they saw around him, whether it was nature, whether it was Ghost in the Shell, whether it was a Minority Report, whether some of the action scenes in Minority Report, if you've seen Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise doing his thing, very similar, right? So if you're out there creating, and again, going back to Philip K. Dick, the reason I found his story so interesting was because I was trying to write short stories at this time. I had just discovered Borges, and when I first read his short stories, blew my mind. I didn't realize you can do that kind of thing with writing. I didn't realize you could bring up these kinds of topics about free will, alternate possibilities, altered states of consciousness, the philosophical nature of reality. What is reality? How do we know, like in the Matrix, we're not just stuck in some giant simulation where everything's predestined? I don't think that's the case. We might be in a giant simulation, kind of behaves like it sometimes, but even if that were the case, right? I don't think that, which is one of the questions this Minority Report film tried to address. I don't think everything's predestined. If it was, it wouldn't make sense. Why would you run an experiment which you already knew what the outcome was? That doesn't make sense. There's nothing to learn from it. The only thing you do that is if you were trying to test whether your prediction was correct. And I think that's science, right? Science takes these theories, these ideas about how physical reality works, and it tries to create experiments where you eliminate as many variables as possible to try to isolate one specific thing about it to see if your prediction is correct. And I think with art and writing and really anything creative, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're trying to run these little experiments to see whether or not this can work. And when I first read Labyrinths by Jorge Luis Borges, I'm not butchering his name. I usually just go by Borges. Labyrinths, if you never read it, interested in short stories, or just curious to see what short stories can do, check out his work. I'll put a little link down below. If Philip K. Dick could create these science fiction short stories, and a lot of his shit has been adapted into Hollywood movies. There's Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report, I think A Scanner Darkly as well, maybe in Waking Life. If not, that's inspired a lot by A Scanner Darkly. These were all based on short stories, and these all came from the mind of this fucking dude who seemed to be kind of losing his shit, but yet he could create something that other people found inspiring. If not inspiring, at least made them think like, what if that is what humanity is doing with technology? Because he was living up in the Bay Area. If I'm wrong, I'll write a correction down below, but I think it was the 70s, 80s. And if people are unfamiliar with the history of the San Francisco Bay Area of Berkeley, it is a very, very, very interesting place. And he was writing, I think, around the time when at least the idea of computers were starting to become a thing, but yet he was able to project, I don't want to say project, take these ideas and make stories about them that kind of seem like, yo, how did this guy create these science fiction short stories that have been adapted into movies? And if you watch them now, you think, wow, that's actually maybe not that far off from reality. That's kind of like what our technology is doing to us nowadays. And it's kind of like Black Mirror. If you're a fan of Black Mirror, but you've never heard of Philip K. Dick, definitely check out the work. Again, fascinating. And I think that's the power of art, of creating anything, really. It's to take ideas, some personal about your life, take inspiration from the external world, have it do something in here, in your mind, in your body, put it out into the world, and see what happens. It's like running an experiment. You don't know the outcome. To me, this video log is kind of like this. I don't know the outcome of what this might be. It might not fucking do anything, but at least for me, voicing out my thoughts, I'm making them more conscious. This helps to integrate whatever I'm thinking about during the day. Like today, had a really good day with my baby mama. We've been looking up baby stuff, researching a little bit about how we're going to sleep with our baby, because she was very much in the camp of take the baby, put it in a separate room in a crib, and let it be there. And I'm like, wait, nah, man, why would you want to do that? It's a baby. And if we were still living out in this, where would you put that baby? With you, right? In your little cave, in your little den, wherever you're at, right? You don't want to keep that baby next to you because you don't know what the fuck is out here. It might hurt that baby. So that's the thinking I had. And I just bought a couple books by this guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but his last name is McKenna. And no, it's not Terrence McKenna, but he is a baby sleep scientist. I didn't know that was a thing, but thank God there's people out there like that researching all these things that they find fascinating, because whatever they discover, they can put out in the world and share it to people who might need that information. So again, I'll try to link a video to the one we saw, but I bought a couple of his books, and he was saying essentially what kind of I was saying, but he had a more, again, scientific explanation for why. But two things: you have your baby sleeping with you, especially as a mom, as a breastfeeding mom, it helps give that baby that warmth and that sense of safety that it needs. And two, food's right here, food's right in the titty, baby's right there, versus you having to get up, walk to a different room, baby's crying, right? You're tired, you're fucking exhausted. I don't want to fucking feed this kid right now, versus the baby just being here. So we were just looking up that kind of stuff today. It's been a really good day. Yesterday was also a really good day. I just gotta check in with her, see where she was at, how she was feeling. And the reason that I even like bring this up is because I'm someone who can just go. Like, I don't need, I'm not saying I don't need breaks. I do need breaks, but I can just focus on something. Granted, my focus is a little bit scattered sometimes, and you'll see in these videos, it's a little bit scattered sometimes, but I can just, if I find something interesting, like a short story, the story of Philip K. Dick, I can just sit there and just for hours, process information. Come here, Vin. Process information and just process it without realizing, oh shit, I have this other life outside of this that I need to take care of and check in with, which is what I did yesterday. And I'm trying to become better at it, because I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Enneagram types. I did this on a whim because I thought it was going to be funny, but after taking the test and realizing what kind of type I was, and late at night with her reading our types and their specific personality quirks, she thought it hilarious reading mine, because some of the shit was kind of true, and I thought her shit was funny because a lot of the shit for her was true. Again, not saying that's who you are, that's your identity, but it's a model that helped me understand her better, helped me be more understanding to where she's coming from. And I think without, again, people finding things interesting or finding certain aspects of reality so fascinating, or questions that they have that they just want to go in hard, dive in deep, and figure out what they're about, and then presenting their findings to the world, this fucking life shit's kind of fucking, it's kind of crazy. Because to come into this world, zero knowledge of anything, of the physics behind it, of what a tree is, what a dog is, what your body is, like zero, coming into it, being immersed in it, and trying to discover the things about it and how it works, that's hard to do on your own. And I think it's impossible to do on your own. I don't know how early humans did it. Probably just straight up fucking grit and pure, just like, I have to survive. There's no other question about it. To where we're at now, where we're kind of, this isn't trying to kill us anymore. If anything was trying to kill us is ourselves. Our lack of understanding for other human beings that think differently, politically, psychologically, religious, like whatever belief system you have, that's what's killing us as other human beings. And ourselves, our bad habits, eating bad, not exercising, drug addiction, again, mental health. There's a lot of things that human beings are dealing with now that maybe back in the day wasn't an issue, because they didn't have a choice to sit there and think about, well, how am I feeling today about having to fucking get up early, go find some water, find some food for these kids, go forage berries out in these woods, try not to die because other human beings are out there also trying to do the same thing. Like, how do I survive in an environment like that, right? I don't think they had time to really check in with their own mental states and see what they're about, much less try to create art, much less try to create stories, much less try to use the scientific process to try to discover things about the world. But they figured it out. They figured out a system that worked for them. And here we are now in this day and age where, as for the most part, other parts of the world, it's not the case. But at least here in the United States, the only danger to us really is other human beings and ourselves. And I'm grateful that there's people out there like that are trying to discover things about the world, how they work, and then presenting that to help out other people. That's a beautiful thing. Really beautiful thing. And I'm really grateful for that, because the more and more I think about everything that I've gone through and where I'm at right here, right now, I couldn't have done it with other human beings. I couldn't have done it with my mom, my parents. Hey, come here. Come on. Let's go. He's getting bored. Come on, Finn. Let's go. Come on. Yeah, good boy. Couldn't have done it. It's impossible. And I think back in our evolutionary history, it's been the same thing. You can't do it with other human beings. The one who got outcasted or exiled, pretty much done. Pretty much done, unless you knew exactly how to survive in the woods. You had some sort of skill to get other human beings to come follow you, start your own tribe out there. It would be impossible. So I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful. This is day 0 again, because I didn't do it yesterday. It's all good. Just keep trying. Day 0 remix. I'll put a link to some of the stuff that I talked about. Borges, Phillip K. Dick, McKenna. Don't remember his first name. And if anyone out there is listening to this or watching this, wherever you're at, don't worry too much about it. You're good. Remember, you were a kid once. When you were a kid, I don't think you struggled with the shit that whatever you're struggling with right now. Or maybe you did. I don't know. But life can be beautiful. Extremely beautiful. It could be full of opportunities for you to develop yourself, for you to grow. Finn, let's go. Come on. For example, like this one right here. Love seeing him run. Yeah. Say hi, Finn. Yeah. You can find joy if you want to look for it. So again, day 0. I'll be out here again tomorrow. Do another video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully my ramblings were too much. They were. It is what it is. You ready to go humping? All right, we out of here. Enjoy the woods. And enjoy your life.